This is the Math 6, Chapter 5 End Test Review, and this will cover sections 5.5 and 5.6, which 5.5 is changing fractions to percentages and percentages back to fractions, and 5.6 is finding percents of numbers and finding the whole when you're given a percentage. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first set of problems, our directions say to write the percent as a fraction or mixed number in simplest form. So you're going to be given a percentage, and you're going to have to write that percentage as a fraction and then simplify it if possible. So our first percentage is 26%. And what we have to remember is that our percentages are always out of 100. So we can write this as 26 over 100. And then here, once we have it in fraction form, we look to see if we can simplify. Here we can divide them both by 2 since they are even numbers. And we get 13 out of 50. And since we cannot simplify any farther, that's our final answer. So we took that percentage and changed it all the way to a fraction in simplest form. Our second one is 110%. Again, no matter what the percentage is, no matter what that value is, it's always out of 100. So even though this is above 100%, we still make our denominator 100. So it's 110 over 100. And what I did first is I divided. And I'm going to divide them both by 10 since they end in 0. I can divide them both by 10. I get 11 tenths. And then we're going to change that into a mixed number. So 10 can go into 11 one whole time. There's 1 left over, so it's 1 and 1/10. Our last problem of percentage to fraction is 15%. So we're going to put 15 over 100. Here we can divide them both by 5. And we get 3/20, which again is as simplified as we can get. So that is our final answer, 3/20. Our next problem say to write the fraction as a percent. So we're going to be given a fraction or mixed number, and we're going to have to write that as a percent. So our first fraction is 16/20. And what we need to look for first is, can we change this denominator to equal 100? And here we can multiply by 5, so we have to do the same thing to our numerator. Our denominator is 100. 16 multiplied by 5, that product is 80. And that's not our final answer because we need to write it as a percent. So 80 over 100 is 80%. And that's our final answer. Our second one here is a mixed number, 3 1/4. So what we're going to do first is actually change this into an improper fraction. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13 over 4. And then we look to see if we can change that denominator to 100, which we can by multiplying by 25. And we get 100 as our denominator and 325 as our numerator. So our answer is 325%. Our last problem like this is 3/10. Here we can multiply both numerator and denominator by 10. We get 30/100ths, which is 30%. Our next problems are percents of numbers. So here we need to take our percentage, we're going to turn that into a decimal. So 30% is the same as 3/10. Of in math means to multiply, and we multiply that by 45. So when we do 3/10 multiplied by 45, we should get 13.5, or 13 5/10. Our next problem is 56% of 140. So again, we're going to take that 56% and change that into a decimal. So that is 56/100ths. Of means multiply, 140. So we have to take that 56/100ths, multiply it by 140, and once we get that all lined up, we should get 78 4/10. If you have 0.40, so 40/100ths, that's also okay. We just don't need that extra 0 there. But if you have it there, it's not a problem. And then our last problem here, 24% of 80. We're going to change that 24% to 24/100ths of, which is multiply, 80. So 24/100ths multiplied by 80 should give you 19.2 or 19 2/10. Again, if you have that 0 at the end after that 2, that's completely fine. Now our next section is to find the whole. So we're given a percentage and we're given an answer. We need to find the percent of what number, our unknown. So we're going to set this up as a part to whole ratio. Part to whole. 35% is what we know, and that percentage is an actual part to whole ratio. That's 35 over 100. We're trying to get to 105. We're missing the whole piece here. So we have to think, how many times can we multiply 35 to get to 105? If we can. Here we can actually multiply 35 by a whole number to get there. So we multiply, let me change my color real fast. We can multiply by 3. 35 multiplied by 3 gives me 105. So here we have to multiply 100 by 3, and we get 300. So our answer is 300. Our next problem is 140% of what number is 35? So we're going to have 140 over 100. Here, this one, we're trying to get from 140 to 35. But there might not be a number right away. So what we're actually going to do here is simplify. So I'm going to do, and change my color so we can kind of see the difference between the one above it and this one. We're going to divide both of these. And here, I want to divide by 20. So I can simplify them by dividing them both by 20. So if I can't get from my part to part, like the top numbers, by one step, I might need to do 2. So 140 divided by 20 is 7. 100 divided by 20 is 5. From there, I can get from 7 to 35. And that is when we multiply by 5, multiply by 5, and we get 25. So my answer here is 25. So if right away we can't get from our first part, so that percentage, to what we want to get to at the end, then we need to maybe do a middle step of simplifying first and then getting to our last step. So let's do 2 more. We have 72% of what number is 36, so the part and the whole. 72% is 72 over 100. Here, we can get from 72 to 36 in one step. We divide by 2, so we do the same thing here, divide by 2, and we get 50. So our answer here is 50. Last problem, 15% of what number is 75? So this is our part, this is our whole. 15% is the same as 15 over 100. And again, we actually can get from 15 to 75 in one step. So if we have to think about 15 multiplied by what number, it's going to give us 75, which in this case is 5. So 100 multiplied by 5 gives me 500. So my answer is 500. So the biggest thing we have to remember, if we go back to our last couple problems here, this one here, if you can't get from your first part to what you want to get in one step, look to see and simplify that fraction. So that is the end of the slideshow. Good luck studying tonight. Look over anything you need to look over again. Re-listen to any explanations. Make sure you look at your graded homework as well as your notes. And good luck studying.